Welcome to another production of School Talk here at WJHI Studios on December 8th. I'm Abby Hammock, and here with me today is Director of Elementary Education, Karen Wesley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Perfect. And also joining me today is going to be K-8 District Director and Coach Tammy Nuxall. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great, Abby.
Perfect. I think we should just get straight to it. Let's jump down in about the science of reading. We're hearing Indiana Department of Education is becoming more aligned with the science of reading. What is the science of reading?
Abby, the science of reading is about 50 years of research that tells us how kids best learn to read. And it's not just from one source. The science of reading research has come from cognitive psychologists, education experts, it's come from linguistics experts. And so it's all of this research coming together telling us the best ways that kids learn to read.
And I feel like that's definitely changing over time. Regarding the research of the science of reading, what does it say about children learning to read?
Well, the science of reading tells us that children need explicit systemic instruction in 5 very important components of reading. The first is phonological awareness, which is really how sounds are manipulated. The next is phonics, then fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And I would say we've always given instruction in those components, but our new learning is showing us how very explicit and systemic to be with the components. That's been a big win for our knowledge.
Well, that's nice to know. And what does the science do to students who already know how to read on that aspect of science reading?
A lot of the science of reading early on, like in our kindergarten and first grade, spends a lot of time in that phonemic awareness and phonics. And so that systematic, that explicit, multisensory instruction is good for all students. And so kind of what we have found in the past, if we have some students that are kind of come into us in kindergarten and first grade kind of already reading, if we don't give them that explicit instruction, then later on when they get to 4th and 5th grade, they don't kind of have those skills and strategies to break apart multisyllabic words or break words into syllables. So if we don't give them those explicit instructions and teaching, then later on they kind of struggle. So we really want to make sure all students are getting those components in the science of reading.
The root is always the most important part of the tree, where it starts up and then builds up to the tree if it's going to blossom or grow correctly. So what has Greater Clark County Schools done to follow the science of reading?
We've actually done a lot. So we have, test all of our K1 and 2 students every year to see if we can determine if they're struggling in any of these components. And if they're struggling, then we give them extra support in some intervention groups that gives them really explicit instruction on the things that they're low in. And so we give them that extra time during the day to do that. We've also created systematic word sequence guides for our teachers to follow. And so we're ensuring that we don't have any gaps in instruction from grade level to grade level. And then we also have kindergarten and first grade checklists in place so that we are really checking, do they have these foundational skills so that students aren't falling in those gaps. We also, in our data, have noticed that our kids were lacking in that phonological awareness, that manipulation of sound. Our data was showing us that. And so we implemented a program called Haggerty. And so that's a program we've given to teachers to help support students in that. And that's been very beneficial. We've also implemented an approach to science of reading called Orton-Gillingham. And so we have lots of our teachers that have received some training in that approach to help with just their knowledge and what they're doing in the classroom. And this past summer, we had 64 teachers that took a whole week to get training in that, and that's been very powerful also. And we're also going to offer that training for teachers this next summer. So we're giving our teachers what we need so that our students can get what they need.
I, off the bat, think this is amazing to have like that equal balance on our scale over here so that all students, they know that they've done this, 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 and this. They have that checklist checked off. I'm a checklist person, I'm a planner person, so knowing that that checklist is in place makes it very comfortable for me to know that like upcoming generations and students that are coming in this world or haven't even came yet are gonna get that fundamental parts of the reading that they know. Have you guys faced any barriers in implementing a different approach to reading?
Yes, anytime we learn something new, it's hard because we have practices that we have to weigh through, prioritize. So our frameworks were reworked in terms of how many minutes you should spend addressing each of the components and how we should address those components. So, but time is a barrier. Learning the new strategies to teach systemically takes time, and the teachers have to practice those routines. But the good thing is we're a semester in, and many of our teachers are getting much more efficient at those new routines. So it is allowing us to make sure that we're spreading that time across all of the components. But we're going to keep swapping ideas, keep coming together. Recently, Tammy held a meeting with the grade level leaders for K through 3, brought them all together just so they could talk about what's going well, what are the barriers, not just time, but are there other barriers? Small little swapping of ideas of even just some logistical things of the manipulatives and the tools that they use to teach these routines. Them being able to exchange those ideas only strengthens that efficiency, and then they all get better together. So that's going to get better with time. So we'll just keep working on that. Another barrier is that a lot of our parents at home know how to help their students study for some traditional spelling test systems, and that has really changed up this year in K through 3 especially. And some parents have had a difficult time understanding like why we're not doing that the way that we used to do it. A lot of times those traditional test lists would go home. Maybe there were some practice activities, but it was really surrounded a lot by memorizing across the week. But now our students are being taught concepts and rules to apply to our English words, and on those assessments there's a little bit more surprise, but they're supposed to be applying those concepts and those skills that they're learning. So that's been an adjustment, but also we are finding that with a little bit of time our students are getting better at that as well. So that initial shock is starting to wear off, we hope. We feel like time is going to allow us to, both the students and the teachers, to get better at all of these routines and strategies that we're learning. So
I live by the rule, practice makes perfect, but practice makes permanent. By the more you do something, the longer you take, you're going to find what works, what doesn't, and then that makes the permanent, perfect outcome. And as a kid, I did spelling bees growing up, and I got second place in one of them. I was so upset. So that makes my third grade heart happy to know that they're going to focus more on the outmake of the words rather than how to say them, how to memorize them. And after following these standards, are we seeing improvements within our students?
I'm so excited to be able to say yes, Abby. And it's really because our teachers here are rock stars. I love Greater Clark County because we have fantastic teachers. And although it's been a change, they have been troopers, and they have implemented, and they have asked great questions. And because of all of that and their hard work, last year when we took our K through 2 data and we looked at how many struggling students do we see, how many kids across Greater Clark County are showing signs of struggling, we had like 800 students. And this year at the beginning of the year when we looked at our K1 and 2 data, we had around 350 students.
That's fabulous.
So we have cut those numbers in half. So we know what we are doing is beneficial to our kids, which is our number one goal we want our kids to achieve. And so our teachers are making that happen, and we're going to keep getting better year after year as we continue to implement and learn. And so, yes, it's exciting news, and I credit our teachers and what they are doing in the classrooms.
Well, we know that the great teachers also come from our great directors and our coaches. So props to you guys for getting that out there, because that really shows that you guys care about the students. You want this for them. And seeing that over 50% decrease in struggling students is just like, it's so heartwarming to hear, because it makes me really excited to see those kids grow and everything, and just visually see the differences of how it's impacted our program. But for you guys, I'm Abby Hammock, so thank you for watching. I just want to thank you again for both of you guys to come out today, Karen and Tammy. This was a very informational aspect to hear about the reading part. You can see the replay of School Talk on a multitude of platforms at WJHI throughout the week on cable channel 184. on our YouTube, Facebook, any of our social media channels, as well as WJHI.com. And with that, I'm saying so long until our next edition of School Talk. This is 98.5 WJHI, LP Jeffersonville.